I just want to assure you before I start that whatever I say has nothing to do with the voodoo. Actually, past-life regression therapy is based on the principle of simultaneous and the contagion effect. We are all aware that our past is not dead. It continues to influence our present. And it is in the present that our future is created. Man has been given free will to change. And so, it is appealing to us because we can put ourselves in the driver's seat. I ask you from believing that you have lived before. I ask you to think, have you ever met anyone in your life and there was a sense of familiarity with that person? Have you ever been to a place and felt that you had been there before? I ask you to think, if you have a recurrent dream, and have you in the night got up with cold sweat, have you thought about what was the reason for that dream? I ask you, have you ever thought how a 4-year-old child can know Vedic maths? I ask you to think carefully. You know, I saw a man recently who had holes in both his ears. He was born with them. Not only him, but his son also has holes in his ears. Not only his son, his brother-in-law also has holes in his ears. Not only that, his 2 friends also have holes in their ears. Is this a soul group that has been born again, or is it some holy mess? The key to understand is, how did a boy who was suffering from sleepwalking, after seeing himself being killed by crocodiles, got rid of sleepwalking? We need to think carefully. What stops us from believing that we have lived before? You know, I was a rationalist. I didn't believe in all this. But 3 events in my life helped me to think differently. And I sincerely believe that experience is the best teacher. You can go to a palmist and get some information on your past life. I'm sure many of you do that just before your exams to find out whether you're going to get through or not. But information cannot heal you. But experience can. 20 years ago, a young girl walked into my office. She said she was having repeated sexual thoughts. Her appetite had dropped and her sleep was disturbed. She told me she was about to get married and she was scared that these thoughts would disturb her. I thought hypnosis would be a good idea. Under the hypnotic state, this young girl saw that she was being raped by a soldier in a tent. Not only that, after a few minutes, she tells me that she's picking up a dagger and stabbing this man. She wakes up crying. Her guilt had obviously got better of her just close in time to being married. I didn't make much of it. A few weeks later, she called me up and said that her thoughts had disappeared. I was left with disbelief. But they say that when the purpose of your life is beginning to open, events begin to unfold. Since I was 3 years old, I suffered from motion sickness, claustrophobia, and fear of heights. I thought a past life session could help me get rid of this. I was a skeptic, but I still went for it. It was a group session where we were about 30 of us who were being regressed. I didn't even focus on this problem when the regression was going on. The session finished. A few months later, I was traveling. And nothing happened to me. There was no nausea. And I was wondering, what is happening to me? Why am I not having nausea? Suddenly my mind went back to that session, and I thought, how can a figment of my imagination heal me? I had to revise my belief. But still, the skeptical mind remained. Today I'm rid of that problem completely. It's been 18 years since that session. But they say that when a skeptic is skeptical, more skeptical, then something happens. My father was dying. He lay there on that hospital bed, breathing his last. But during that time, he showed me what an out-of-body experience is. What is teleportation? He narrated to me my sister's home, which he had never visited, never seen pictures of. He told me the photo frames on the walls. He not only said that, but he told me that where my sister was at that time wearing a black dress in a party. As he was narrating these incidences, I was more and more amazed. At that moment, I realized that maybe he just wanted to see how his daughter was doing far back. Maybe that's what people do before they die. I don't know. A few minutes later, he said to me, there is too much of light. The daughter and me didn't want my dad to go. And so I kept a towel on his forehead, thinking that I could block the cosmic light that was about to embrace him. A few seconds later, the monitor beeped. He said, the path is clear, and he was gone. At that moment, I realized that I have a limited mind, but I have a limited body, a limitless mind, and an infinite consciousness. But you know, they say that a skeptic still remains because there's a scientist inside you. I always say that spirituality and science are just two sides of the same coin. And so, when you're a spiritualist, a little bit of the scientist begins to work. And so I started searching. I thought to myself, if there is something called a soul and consciousness, it must be in my body and brain. And I want to know where it is. And that's when I read about the Stanford Penrose studies. It said to me that within the brain there are these microtubules in which there is quantum processing taking place. And it also said to me that these microtubules lose their quantum state when a person dies. It also said that the brain is a receiver and an amplifier. It relays and catches signals. The study told me that when a person dies, or let us say, is about to die, the quantum processing energy begins to move out of the microtubules, out of the physical body, because it cannot be destroyed. And it stays outside the body. If this person is revived again, this same energy enters the microtubules, and when the person wakes up, he says he had a near-death experience. And if this person dies, this energy moves out of the body in search of another physical body. Maybe this is the soul. This energy is possibly the soul. In my past life sessions, I have seen people witnessing death. And when they move out of their past life body and they view their dying body from the top, they realize that death is a myth. You cannot die. You realize that the soul is invincible. This is a very interesting study and tells you a lot about your consciousness. I thought to myself, if there are two people separated by thousands of miles, can they still connect to each other? The phenomena of telepathy, as we know. Quantum entanglement is just that. It tells you the power of oneness. There's a lot of talk on oneness happening nowadays, but there is a scientific base to that. A particle somewhere, thousands of miles away, can connect to another particle thousands of miles away. So there must be something that is happening in a past life session where this person lying in bed in a hypnotic state is able to connect to his past life body. Not only that, he's able to feel the sensations, the emotions. He's able to transmit to me what is happening in that state. Do you know? There are people who visit their past lives and they experience death. And in that death state, when they experience that a sword is stabbed into their body, they can actually remove that sword, healing their current life body. I know it sounds quite far-fetched, but it does happen. The theory of quantum entanglement is really a theory of past life. But then you go a little bit deeper and find out that during a hypnotic state and during a past life session, when we are speaking to that person, we're saying words, we're having a language that is being spoken to them. And this particular theory on hypercommunication says that if you speak at a certain frequency, at a modulated frequency, you can heal. You can actually heal the DNA. And that is how hypnotic suggestions, affirmations, and positive words act. A tunnel connection is created between your body and your past life body. And that is how actually the frequency begins to change in your current body as you experience emotions in a past life body. Hypercommunication is a very interesting phenomena because it helps you to heal your DNA. I thought to myself, okay, so spiritualists and scientists are really doing the same thing. There's nothing different. Scientists can only find out what is already present. Spiritualists already know about it. As my life unfolded and as I became more and more spiritual, I realized that past life regression therapy is not a very new age therapy. Do you know that our ancient scriptures called the Upanishads and the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali also have documented past life therapy as a way of healing your body? I always say to myself that the opportunity that actually came my way when I did the show, Raaz Pichle Janam Ka on Indian TV, came from my past. From a school friend whom I had never met for 20 years, calls me up and says, Trupti, I know about your work. Can you do this show for us? And I said, who's going to come on this show? She said, no, don't worry, people will come. And they came. So I know that the past can never be dead. It is always going to catch up with you at a certain juncture of your life. Think what past life therapy can do if each one of us experiences our past. You know, medical doctors will tell me, oh, it's all false memories and hallucinations that you're seeing. But I ask you, how can a hallucination heal a problem? How can a false memory get me rid of migraine or asthma or psoriasis? How can my suicidal thoughts disappear by just a hallucinatory trajectory? It cannot. It just cannot. But think what past life therapy can do if each one of us spiritually evolve. If each one of us understand that we can be born in different cultures, in different religions, speak different languages. Think what it can do if a Christian saw himself as a Muslim in a past life. Just think about it. I believe that past life therapy can remove discrimination, it can remove judgment, and it can stop hate. I believe that walking barefoot on the sands of time can make you believe and understand that you are living by choice, not by chance. And don't worry, if you don't believe in past lives, in some lifetime or another, you will. Thank you.